If your website has forms, we enable this forms feature for you in the admin. You can click on this, and this section is run by a plugin called Gravity Forms that lets you create forms by adding new here or on the left hand side, or edit existing forms from a list like this. To add a form to your page, you would use the form block. So let's say we want to add a new page and we want to add a form to our page. We can click on the plus icon or this plus icon to create a form block and select which form we want to add to the page. Once we go to the preview mode, we can see that the form just appears and all of its settings come from Gravity Forms, except for obviously the visual settings like the container. So let's say you want to edit these fields, remove one or add a new field. How would you do that? Let's say we just publish this page so we can see how it looks like, and go back to the forms section and edit this form. When you edit the form, you can see the field editor, and that lets you change fields by clicking on them, and there are settings on the right hand side. You can see that the field label you can change it if it should be required or not, add some description below, and even change the appearance for it. Most of the time you would change the general settings here for each field. Some fields might have different settings, so the text area here has slightly different settings, but they are all well explained and they have a help tooltip as well. If you wish to add another field to the form, you can click on this Add Fields tab and select from a list of fields. Most usual ones are the single line text, which is similar to this one, a paragraph text, which is similar to the message one here. You can add checkboxes, a number input, radio buttons, or a drop down as well. And in the more advanced field section, you can see that there are another list of possibilities, like the email and the phone number fields that we have here, as well as the consent field for the agreement for privacy policy or any other type of consent that you need from the user. Let's say we want to add a drop down before the consent block. I can click and drag and move it to the right place. If you just click on the add new field area, the field is added to the end of the form. If you want to delete a field, you can click on this bin here, and that would ask you if you're sure, and then you can remove that field completely. So let's see our drop down field here. I can click on it to edit its settings and add my label here. So this is going to be the label. It updates there as well. And I can edit the choices for this block, for this type of field rather. So you can add and remove by these icons. You can use the plus icon to add one, and a minus icon to remove a choice. I'll just add a couple of settings here, or a couple of choices. Let's see, we want to add another one. And once we finish editing the choices, we can just close that editor, and that's basically it. If I save the form now and go back to my page and view it, we can see that our drop down is there with the 3 choices on the front end. If we want to remove the form, we can change that on the page and remove the form block from the page and add more content or add content around the form. That is all of that is managed inside the page rather than the form. However, you can see that the title and the description of the form wasn't there when we edited the form. So let's go back to the forms and edit. And you can see that the title and the description of the form is not there at the top. And that is because it is in a different place. It's in the form settings area. And here you can change the form title and the description along with a lot of other settings you can see, like the label placement, whether the required field should be text or an asterisk or something else, and some other settings. We always recommend to use the anti-spam honeypot setting to be turned on, and this gives you a basic protection against spam messages. Other settings for forms include the confirmation, the notification, and the personal data, as you can see here. Let's go into confirmations. Confirmation settings is basically what happens when the form is submitted. By default, each form simply shows a message, and this works as the form gets replaced when the submission happens. So the fields will be replaced and this message will show up instead. So it will say, thank you for contacting us. We will get in touch with you shortly. You can edit that message here using the WYSIWYG editor. And that is one option for the confirmation. Another option would be to set up a thank you page. So create a thank you page first, and then select that page to redirect to when the user submits the form. Another option is a more free redirect. You can redirect to a third party if you have some kind of integration or something similar to that. Usually we recommend creating a thank you page, or if you don't want to track the submissions, the confirmation message type can be also a good solution for this. Apart from confirmations, you can set up notifications as well. By default, there is an admin notification that sends the new submission to an email address. Then this is usually the website's main email address. And here with notifications, you can set up an email notification for the admin, as the default one is, or you can set up for a user. So if a user submits the form, they can also receive an automated notification through this. It's a matter of setting up which email to send the message to, and you can set up a from name and a from email as well. You can see that there are some variables being used here that gets replaced with dynamic data, like the admin email, and you can see what other pieces of information you can add as dynamic data. You can add any of the field values that the user submits, so you can add their own email address to the send to area. So instead of the admin email, you can remove that and add the email field from the form itself. Oh, sorry, wrong place. You can add that email field to the send to email instead. And you can add a subject and the message as well. The message is probably the most important bit. You can see that there is a wildcard here called all fields, and this creates a little table with all the fields of the form and what values the user has submitted with them. So this is useful for admins, but if you want to create a notification for the user, you might want to add some manual content there. You can personalize this area by also including dynamic information like their name, full name. So this would get replaced by their data that they are inputting in the form. Yeah, so this is notifications. I'm not gonna save this for now because the admin notification is fine. You can add multiple notifications, so you can send an email notification to the admin and the same time to the user as well if you add the multiple ones. And the personal data setting lets you store and export and import user data and even delete user data upon request. Yeah, so that is the personal data settings. And last but not least, in terms of what you can edit in a form, you can see that there are 3 tabs at the top. Edit lets you edit the fields of the form. The settings lets you edit the form title, description, and all their settings like confirmation, notification. And the last tab is the entries tab, and here you would see the entries that users have submitted, because apart from sending an email notification, Gravity Forms also saves each user submission in the database here. And once you have enough data in the entries, you can export them as well by using the export feature here. You can see you can export entries by selecting which forms entries you want to export, and that lets you create a spreadsheet. You can select all the fields or just a couple of them, and you can even select a date range, start and end date for for your export there. So that is all about forms.